You may hear the background noise, the children in the background. We're in a cheder, we're in a school, and we're thinking, oh, we can't record with that kind of a background noise. But then we thought just the opposite. The children playing? That's what this is all about. The continuity of Klal Yisrael. Here. So the king walks by and he hears his most trusted minister, Rav Dan Yitzchak Abarbanel, learning with his grandchild. And Rav Dan Yitzchak is learning the Gemara that Rabbaim Yayim Kaidem Yitziras Avlad 40 days before the child is created, even before the child is conceived, before the child is created, Machrizim they call out in Shemayim Bas Ploini Leploini. The daughter of so-and-so is going to marry so-and-so. And the king bursts into a wild laughter. And he pulls the curtain away and he says, Dan Yitzchak, come on! This isn't ancient times now. This is the 1400s. What's with you? 40 days before a baby is created, they call out in heaven, who's going to marry who? And he said, Your Majesty? Yes. The Torah is nitzchias. The Torah is perpetual. So the king walks away and says, I am going to fix his wagon. I'm going to think of a shidduch that only I could have thought of this right now, and no one else would have thought of it. The king had a nephew, the Knight of Fordax, that for whatever reason wasn't married yet. He was stubborn, but the king decided it's time for an executive order. The king disguised himself, walked through the vegetable market, saw a young girl dressed in rags, quite young, and the king understood that if she wore princely clothes, she would look like a princess. He prepared a letter, walked up in front of her. She looked up. She recognized. She said, Your Majesty! He said to her, deliver this letter to the knight of Fordax. Why is the king so nervous? She takes the letter. Of course, she can't ask the king what the contents of the letter are. You know what it said in that letter? It said, My dear nephew, by orders of His Majesty the King, you are to marry the bearer of this letter, the one who brings this letter, within 10 minutes of receipt of this letter. No questions asked. No ifs, no buts, no whens. And the king walks away. And the young girl is holding the letter. She starts to walk away, but she realizes somebody else is going to take her vegetables. Her vegetable stand. She begins to cry. What do I do now? I have to deliver the king's letter. What do I do now? And suddenly, in the whole hubbub of the market with the kids running all around and people selling vegetables, her great-great-grandmother passed by. Wonderful lady, 108 years old. And she said, Katerina, why are you crying? I have to deliver this letter, but I can't leave my vegetable stand. So the great-grandmother said, I'll deliver it for you. As she travels to the knight of Fordax, walks up the fort, she's waving the letter, they all move away from her. The knight was having a very rough day. And suddenly this old lady walks in, she looks ancient. What do you want? I have a letter from the king, and I hope you give me a tip. He takes the letter, he opens it, he reads it. You are to marry this woman within minutes of the receipt of this letter. No questions asked, no if, no but. By royal executive order. What? She goes, I said, I hope you give me a tip. What? I said, I hope you give me a tip. I can't believe this. The king says I have to marry you. Oh, that's a surprise. Okay, but listen, the king says. Anyway, they sent a bunch of messengers to the king, and the king said, I don't want to hear. No! He has to do what I told him to do. And then when they told the king that the marriage is over, the ceremony was done, he summoned Rav Dan Yitzchak of Barbanel, and he said, Nu Rav Dan Yitzchak, so shidduchim are made of Shemayim? Yeah, really, huh? 40 days before the baby is created. Well, may I present to you my match. Here is my nephew, the knight, who comes walking in, very angry. Oh, cut it out, she's a fine girl. And a few minutes later, his wife comes in, and she's swinging her cane. You ever walk ahead of me like that again? Ouch, ouch, ouch! And the king goes, Who are you? Because she brought me the letter. I had to marry her. And suddenly the king summoned Rav Dan Yitzchak. He needed extra strength Tylenol. He said, What do I do? You understand that under certain circumstances, divorce is not an option? And Rav Dan Yitzchak said, What's the problem? Because I'm in trouble! Why are you in trouble? Well, then Yitzchak was able to find a heter, that the marriage to start with. He also later explained, between you and me, the king was a fool. Because suppose the knight did marry the young girl. That was part of the hashgacha. That's what was called out 40 days beforehand. You know, the Chazon Ish said that there's one area where we still see Ruach HaKodesh today, and that's when it comes to Shidduchim. After 120, we go up to Shemayim. They're going to ask us a bunch of questions, and one of them is a saktem b'pirya v'rivya. Did you involve yourself in the first mitzvah of the Torah, and that is to have children? Says the Marsha. It also means, did you marry off orphans? Did you marry off girls that could not marry themselves off? Many a Rosh Hashiva said, I've heard this from many Gedolim, I think B'Shem Rabbi Yaakov, that Bezman Hazeh in our days, what the Marsha says applies to everyone. You know, there was a time that the difficulty in Shidduchim was essentially money. It's still a problem. Money is still an issue. But for whatever reason, whatever the gzeira is, whatever the dark clouds are that are preventing girls that have their mate, we know they have their mate. 40 days before they were created, it was called Ena Shemayim. But Hashem set up a world that He wants us to do ours. And we're going to have to answer after 120 years. Maral says when Hashem looked at Klal Yisrael by Har Sinai, He looked at every single generation, all the way down, till when Mashiach comes. And every time a chassan breaks a glass and we sing Mazel Tov, and another young girl, a young boy got married, that's a step closer to Geula, to Mashiach, to Hashem's master plan. Says the Sefer Torah Devaira, every hachnosas kala is kishutin lashchina. It's like you're adorning Hashem Himself, Hashem's master plan. Yamim Tovim b'Yisrael k'chamisha asa b'av. Chamisha asa b'av and Yom Kippur. Chamisha asa b'av and Yom Kippur, Tu b'av and Yom Kippur. What do they have in common? What they have in common is Yom Kippur brings everyone back onto track, onto what the purpose of life is. Chamisha asa b'av is the day of Shidduchim. It's the day that Shevet Binyamin was brought back into the fold. We won't get into the technicalities. But it's the days the Bachrim were lined up and they were told, Al titein einecha benoi, don't look at beauty. Ten einecha b'mishpacha. Look at the achrayus, at the responsibility you have, at the continuity of Klal Yisrael, at the plan of the world. Why? Why Chamisha Sevav? You know what the Bnei Yissaschar says? 40 days before the creation of the world. According to the opinion that the world was created, Tishrei, count, up until Brias Ha'olam, Chamisha Sevav is 40 days before the creation of the world. It's each year when Hashem cries out, the world is being recreated, things are being aligned. Hashem demands of us that we do our best to help for Shidduchim. It's the first question we're going to be asked. Yad Li'achim is Moshe Nefesh themselves to bring Yiddish and Neshamas back to Klal Yisrael. It's almost impossible to understand that this is happening in our generation, going into Arab villages, bringing back women that are virtually prisoners to their families. Yad L'achim is doing a wonderful thing. They're saying, what about the girls that are prisoners in their own homes? Because for whatever reason there's a curtain, not a wall, but a curtain in front of their shidduchim. Yad Li'achim is going to send a minion of Talmidei Chachamim to Amukah to Rabbi Yonasan ben Azil. Remember Rabbi Yonasan ben Azil? He's the one he starts learning and boom, a fire burns the bird on top of him. Svarim say, I think the Maral says, that's Kabbalah HaTorah. Yonasan ben Azil brings us back to the plan of Har Sinai. There's a plan, everyone has shidduchim, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it this way. You have to do your thing. So in Chamisha B'Av, we're all going to daven together. You can go on to, if you would like, tuba'avtogether.com. Submit names to daven for. Call 866-923-5224. That's 866-923-5224. Give names. And on Friday, August 16th, this year, Chamisha B'Av, at 10 a.m. New York time, 5 p.m. Eretz Yisrael time, we're going to daven together. We're going to daven together and be mispalel for shidduchim. And just one last small story. Somebody comes into the Heilige Rishon and it says, Rebbe, I can't marry off my daughter. And as Rebbe sometimes did, take this first ruble and invest it. And on his way home, he's in an inn. And where can he invest a ruble? And he overhears two people mockingly talking to each other about investments. So he goes, I have a ruble to invest. And they all start laughing. What do you want to invest in? And one of the mockers over there said, you know what? I'll sell you my Olam Haba for a ruble. How's that? He says, fine. The Rebbe told him, hey, first investment. I don't want a contract. Writes out a contract. They start laughing. This fellow who sold his Olam Haba, his wife comes down and she goes, what's the joke? He says, he just bought my Olam Haba for a ruble. She doesn't think it's funny. I won't live with a man who sold his Olam Haba. Oh, come on, it was a joke. What do you mean? He has a contract. Get it back from him or I'm moving out. Hey, pal, here's your ruble. No way. You want to buy back the contract? Yeah. 10,000 ruble. That's what I need to marry off my daughter. What? I'm leaving. Oh, no. All right, here's 10,000 ruble. He was able to marry off his daughter. So they asked the Rebbe, tell me something. This man who sold his Olam Haba for a ruble, was his Olam Haba worth a ruble? The Rebbe said, really, no, he overpaid. But once he married off that daughter, it was worth all the money in the world. We can be worth all the money in the world. Let's get together.
On Friday, August 16th, Tu B'Av, join over 500,000 Jews from across the world uniting together for Shidduchim. To find out more about this special project, please visit tubaavtogether.com. At tubaavtogether.com, you can watch many more inspirational videos, download the Tehillim to be said on Tu B'Av Together, and submit your names for Tefillah for absolutely free. Please share this video with friends and family, and let's make it Tu B'Av together.